The fingerprinting signals that get all the attention are the flashy hardware ones, the canvas drawing, the web grunder, the audio stack, the things that reach down into your graphics chip and sound card. But the signal that actually catches most people is far cheaper than any of those, and it needs no clever hardware trick at all. It is simply what time your browser thinks it is and where your IP says you are sitting. Time zone and geolocation. Two of the plainest facts a page can read, and when they disagree with each other, a detector does not need a laboratory. It needs subtraction. Quick note on where this comes from first. I run real proxy and cloud phone farms, and I test how these browsers handle fingerprinting. I am keeping this third person and defensive throughout, how the technique works and how it is defended, not a recipe against any site. And there are no undetectable promises anywhere, because closing this gap removes a contradiction from a setup. It does not make anything invisible, unbannable, or risk-free. Start with what these signals actually are, because the names and sound more mysterious than the facts. The Timezone signal is just your browser self-reporting which named region it is set to, and the exact number of hours it sits from universal time. Geolocation is broader, a stack of separate layers that all claim to answer one question: where in the world is this machine? And the core ones need no permission prompt, so a page reads them quietly on every load. Let me lay out those layers of where you are, because keeping them separate is what makes the whole picture click. The first layer is the IP location, the country and city a site infers purely from the address your request arrives on, which in a proxy setup is the proxy's exit. The second is the time zone your browser reports. The third is the language and locale, the region baked into your request headers and into the browser itself. And the fourth is the geolocation API, the permission-gated one that can hand a site your precise coordinates down to the street. 4 layers, all supposedly describing one location. Here is why this cluster is worth so much, and it is not any single layer. Every one is cheap to read, the core ones need no permission, and they are instant to compare, and the site already knows one of them for free, the IP location, because your request physically arrived on that address. So it holds the location your network is shouting up against the location your browser claims, and the whole game is whether those two agree. It is not hunting a magic value, it is hunting a mismatch, and the classic mismatch is almost embarrassingly common. Someone wires a proxy that exits in Germany and never touches the time zones, so the browser still sits in the region of the physical machine back home, maybe New York, maybe Singapore. The request arrives from a German IP, while the browser reports an American clock. That is a contradiction. A detector reads in one subtraction. No fingerprinting cleverness required. It gets a little subtler, because time zone is really two facts that both have to agree, not one. There is the name zone, the label like the Eastern region or Central Europe, and there is the numeric offset, the raw number of hours from universal time. And that offset is not fixed. It moves with daylight saving, shifting by an hour on set dates that differ from region to region. A lazy spoof that pins a single fake offset and ignores the calendar will report a number that is simply wrong for today's date in the zone it claims, and a detector that knows the calendar sees the named zone and the offset telling two different stories. Language and locale belong to this same picture, even though people file them elsewhere in their head. Your accept language header and the language your browser reports are part of the where, not just the who. A profile whose IP lands in Brazil, while every language signal reads plain American English, is not an instant kill the way a time zone flip is, but it is a soft contradiction stacked on the others. On its own it is weak, since people do travel, but detectors add signals up rather than weighing them alone. Then there is the geolocation API itself, the one layer that does ask permission, and it is a trap in both directions. A site can request your precise coordinates, and normally you grant or deny that. If a profile is careless and grants it while leaking the real device's actual position, it has just handed over the truest location signal there is, straight past every proxy. But the opposite is also a tell, because a browser configured to hard block every geolocation request, or to answer in a way no ordinary user setup ever would, is itself unusual, and a good defense makes the API behave the way a normal person's browser behaves, rather than slamming a door nobody else slams. So how do the tools that take this seriously actually defend it? The whole answer is binding. A well-built anti-detect browser sets the profile's time zone and its locale automatically from the proxy's IP location at the moment it launches, so the clock and the language are derived from where the exit sits, not inherited from the physical machine running the software. You attach a proxy in Madrid and the profile comes up on Central European Time, speaking the right regional language, because the tool read the exit and configured the browser to match it. The location becomes one coherent story instead of a network claim fighting a browser default.